If you've ever had a bob or you've been thinking about getting a bob, this video is absolutely for you. Because I'm gonna be sharing tips, tricks, things that I've learned over 25 years that are gonna make sure you love your bob. And the first thing is to understand that hair is, well, a bit of an optical illusion. Thanks, Justin. That's right, man. And Justin, no worries. And my name is Justin. By the way, if you're brand new to this channel, thanks for coming in and hanging out. If hair is an important thing to you, you're gonna wanna make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on every Tuesday when I bring out a brand new video. What I do is share tips, things I've learned over the past 25 years that hopefully will make your hair a whole lot easier for you. I think it will. And today we're talking about bobs. I'm gonna share some really important stuff with you, so let's dive in and get to talking. Okay, so let's just head back in my office and we'll talk about bobs. Now, first of all, we have to understand there's basically like 3 major categories when you're talking about a bob that make a huge difference, and that's essentially how I'm gonna cover this today. We're gonna break it down into length, we're gonna break it down into hairline, and hair texture. Now, length really talks about length and the angle of the cut and what's important about that. Hairline talks about your hairline and how that actually impacts the overall cut, as well as the overall texture is going to play a huge role in what kind of bob shape is gonna make probably the most sense for you. So I'm also, at the very end, you're not gonna wanna miss, I'm gonna share a little tip on styling that I don't really think people understand and a lot of stylists forget to share. And it makes a really big difference. So you're definitely not gonna wanna miss that. But first things first, let's jump in and start talking about hair length and angle and how it impacts your overall cut. Okay, so first of all, understand when I get into this that these are all kind of rules, or if you would say, just things to think about. They're also rules that can be broken. You just need to add this knowledge because it's gonna help you make a better decision. Now, first of all, when we're talking about length and angle, we need to think about face shape first. For instance, if you've got a very round face and that concerns you, putting a bob line right into your chin is just gonna make it look more round. So we wanna make sure that the length in the front is doing what we want for our face shape. If you've got a longer face and you leave your length longer than the chin, it's gonna actually elongate your face more. So keeping that in mind is gonna be a big deal. We also wanna think about the angle. I'm gonna use my little model here. She's gonna be my model today. So if you look at her face shape, what you're gonna see is that, just like all of us, the jawline actually isn't parallel to the floor. The cheekbone structure isn't parallel to the floor. It's actually elevated, right? It's angular, it lifts back up. If we want to follow that line, it's going to do a lot to help bring your eye up. Now, one of the things that we want to think about when we're talking about length is the lob, right? If you don't know what a lob is, it's basically a long bob. Now, usually that means that these bobs are hanging in somewhere around the collarbone length, right? They're hanging in a little bit longer than up off of the shoulders or the traps. Here's the concern with that. If your hair sits right at your traps and you're trying to get it to lay flat or go all under, it's going to grow out pretty quickly. And when it does, it has the potential to start flipping out right back here on the sides. Not to say that lobs don't look great, not to say that that length isn't good, and not to say that you can't get it to lay under. Just to say, keep that in mind, because if that's gonna bother you, it may be a length where you wanna bring that up off of your traps a little bit and give yourself a little extra time before it touches those and starts to flip out. Okay, so one more thing, when you're thinking about angles, right? How much this angle's on the side? The angle doesn't start back here in the nape, in the center. It actually starts right behind the ear. If you try to angle that from the center of the neck, you're gonna end up with this V in the back. It's not to say that you can't push that angle starting back a little bit behind the ears. You're towards the center a little bit more, but just know that, typically speaking, an angle will start right at the behind of the ear. So if you do want that to be a dramatic angle, you want the front to be really long, it's going to have the potential of going straight and then looking kind of like these dog ears that just hang there. Not that that's a bad thing, some people might find that really cool, but if that's not the look that you're going for, just understand that how high you take the back, how long you leave the front, and that angle can create that or not create that. Okay, so let's jump into hairlines. Hairlines play a big role in what kind of bobs are gonna work best for you. So one thing to think about is your hairline, if it's, let's say for instance, if you've got a really high hairline and your hair is on the finer, thinner side, right? Or even medium fine side, the longer you leave this from the hairline, the less it's gonna support a layering, like a bevel style layering, because it means that the ends are gonna have a tendency to get a little bit thinner and not support that as much. On thicker hair, that's not really gonna be an issue because thick hair is so dense, it's gonna be able to support that kind of layers. You can get away with a little bit more on that and it'll end up having that nice bevel. So if you do want the back of your bob to be a little bit more beveled, you wanna bring that up a little closer to that neckline. We also wanna pay attention to the hairline above the ears right in here. There's a lot more hair follicles from here to here than there are in this little section right here. And what that means is if you layer that too much, it can get very piecey and very thin. It won't give you that really nice strong angle bob if that strong bob is what you're going for. Now, on the other hand, if your hair is thicker or wavy or curly, you may want to get in there and layer that a bit more. Hair that's thicker or hair that's wavy will have a tendency to grow out, not down, right? It starts to compound on itself and get wider and fuller. So alleviating some of that bulk through layering on the sides will make a big difference and allow you a shape that may be more of what you're looking for. And now that kind of brings me into the idea of hair texture. Here's why hair texture is important, and it's an important thing to think about when you're talking about bob shapes. A lot of people, especially when you're talking about thinner, finer hair, are very concerned about doing layering. It can be kind of overwhelming. You're afraid that you're gonna all of a sudden take all your hair away. You've got this hair, you don't have very much. The last thing you want is to feel like you have less. Here's the thing, layering done correctly can be honestly your best friend, especially when you're talking about shapes like bobs. It can be a great way to give your hair movement, to give your hair volume, and to give your hair a little bit more of a style to it. Now, on the flip side, when we're talking about thicker hair or curly hair, in your situation, I would honestly say, I recommend most people do some layering, especially if you've got something coming in near your chin area. They can have a tendency on thick and curly hair to get very wide. And what that'll do is create this kind of triangular shape that really starts to bring the eye down. More importantly, it adds a lot of width. So alleviating the bulk through the sides allows it to lift the top up, and that many times can be the difference between a bob that you love and a bob that maybe you don't like as much. Okay, so like I said, I wanna share a tip with you. And then, by the way, you're not gonna wanna miss the very end of this. I've got a very special announcement to share, so stick with me. So when it comes to styling, one thing that I hear a lot is I can't get the ends to look as polished as I want them. They roll under too much. Here's the thing, I love round brushes. I don't think there's any problem with using a round brush. But if you're gonna use a round brush, you just have to be aware that you don't put too much bend on the ends. You wanna make sure that you get bend, but realistically, you're looking for bend, not curl at the bottom. So just give yourself a bend. Now, a little trick. Especially if you feel like you've got too much fullness on the sides and you're straightening your hair, flat irons are your best friend. Keeping in mind, now if you haven't watched my video on how to flat iron hair, there's a playlist, Style Tips at Home. I'm gonna link it right here. Watch that because the body mechanics is gonna play a huge role here. It's probably the largest part of this whole tip. So pay attention to this. But giving yourself the flat iron, giving yourself just enough bend, but not curl at the ends, is gonna give those ends a crisp look, a more defined look, a very strong edge that is really appealing on a bob shape that can only be created by a flat iron. And even if you just flat iron the very bottoms and you don't wanna flat iron everything else, but just the sides, lines right there, if you're gonna wear a strong bob, it is hands down one of my favorite things to do with clients. Okay, so my special surprise. Here's the deal. When I started this YouTube channel, I honestly didn't ever really think about growing it to be this big. It's really started to take off, and it's not because of me, it's 100% because of you guys. You're my people, my community, and all of the growth is because you're taking a chance on me. And so I don't ever want to come across like that is not so appreciated, because it is. It does not fall on deaf ears with me. Heads up, right now, I've got, as I'm filming this, I've got over 18,000 of you amazing people that have taken the time to hit that subscribe button, who actually care what I'm delivering you. I love that. Let's get to 20,000. When we get to 20,000, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give one of you lucky folks my favorite flat iron, which is amazing, and my favorite products that I'm using right now. We're talking shampoo, we're talking conditioner, and we're talking styling aids. I'm gonna send you a little care package as a thank you for helping me. So, how are we gonna get there? We're so close, so close. What I need you to do, just like this. Share this video with your friends, right? Share this video on social media. Let people around you know that we're here and we're a community and we're gonna be asking questions and answering questions and learning all about rad hair stuff. So all you gotta do is make sure that you are subscribed, make sure that you hit that notification bell, and share this video with one of your friends or two of your friends or all of your friends, I don't know, but let's get to 20,000 so I can give away some stuff. Okay, that is it. You guys, thank you so much, as always, for hanging out with me. I so appreciate you. If you have any questions about bobs or anything, comment below, let me know. Otherwise, you have a fantastic day. We will see you next Tuesday in the next video. Bye.